Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is our 8th episode of our CSS series, and today we're learning about something super powerful in CSS, but often confusing when you're just starting out. CSS positioning. Don't worry, I'm gonna explain it like you're 5. We'll keep it fun, simple, and we'll look all about CSS positioning. With that said, let's get started. Alright, so I have a boilerplate code, right? And inside the body, I have a div, which is our main container div. But what I'm gonna do is give this a container and copy this and put another one. I was supposed to do that, but unfortunately it didn't happen. That's unfortunate, but okay. So I'm going to give it box1. So what I'm going to do, so essentially what I'm doing is I have an outside div, which is a container for all 5 of these divs, right? And all 5 of these divs are an individual box, or we will assume them as a box. And they have 2 classes each. So one is their mutual class, which we'll use to apply mutual CSS property to all 5 of these boxes. And we have another CSS class. By the way, if you want to put multiple classes in the same HTML element, this is how you do it. One class is box, another class is box1. So you can understand it like that, right? So let's style our container and our box. What I'm going to do is I've got container like this and give it a width of, let's say, 80%, right? So because the width should be 80%, not pixels, like this, and give a height of 1000 pixels because I wanted to take all of the space as much as it can, and also give a border so we can see how far or how much the container is taking. So I'm going to give 2 pixels solid black. With that said, you should see that. Yep. I'm going to increase this by a little bit. Let's say 90 pixels. Yep. Okay, that should be fine. And with that said, that's our container, right? So now for the individual box1 elements, I'm going to do box1 and give it a background color of, let's say, red for the first one. And here, give it a width. If you're wondering why the background did not get red, because we haven't defined how big is the box1. So if I give it a width of, let's say, 100%, if I do that, it will take width 100% inside this div container because this is inside this div container, right? If I do that, then it will take width of 100%, and height, let's say we'll give it 50 pixels each. As you can see, it appeared. I'm gonna probably put it a little bigger. Let's say 400 pixels. As you can see, that is first div, right? I'm also gonna put some text saying box1 and give the color to white, and also give the font size to really big so we can actually see. There we go. And also give a text align of center. Okay, that's inside that box. So I'm gonna copy this, right? Copy this. I'm gonna change it to box2 and box3, same as box4 and box5. So I'm gonna label these as that. So there will be multiple boxes here. I'm gonna copy this and paste it 4 times now. So that's box1, that's box2. Let's say box2 will have a color of blue. Box3 is that, and it will have a color of green, like that. And box4 will have a color of orange, let's say, like that. And we'll also make another for box5, and we'll have a color of pink, let's say. Now these are all of the boxes, right? Now let's start with our CSS position, or the property of position. Okay, the first position property is the static. So if I give position to static, as you can see, nothing happens, right? Because static is the by default property of every HTML element. By default, every HTML element is positioned static. So because it's already there, it doesn't do anything. What is static? So if we do static, all the HTML element will come to top to bottom. So since we have box 1 at the top, so it will be box 1 at the top. So it will just be stacked, okay? So box 2 is down, box 3, and box 4, box 5. So these by default all have position static. But what if I give the box 2, let's say, actually I will also give box 1, okay? You know what? That's fine. What if I give the position property of the box 1 to relative? So this is second property of position, that is position relative. Now again, as you can see, it didn't do anything. To make changes, right, we have to give few CSS property. And that is, let's say I give top. There are 5 things you can give when positioning an element. That is top, bottom, okay, these abbreviations are killing me, and left and right. Okay, these are the things you can give. And also you can give another thing called z-index, right? These are 5 properties of position. So what happens if I give top? So if I give position relative, it will position itself relative to its original position. So here, the original position of box is this, right? So that is the original position of box 1. So if I give top, let's say 20 pixel, it will position itself 20 pixel from top. So it will go 20 pixel from top, and it will also overlap the box 2, as you can see. If I give 50, text box 2 is completely has completely disappeared because it is box 1 is over box 2. So that is position property. Now you can change it. Let's say you want the box 1 to be under box 2. What you can do is to give z-index of 0 or less than the box 2, right? If I do that, or actually percent 0, I can -1. Because putting z-index 0 didn't work because box 2 already had a z-index of 0, because by default z-index is 0. If I give position -1, the box 1 will be under box 2. Okay, that's how it works. Box 1 is under box 2, at least appearing under box 2. Now that's how you control it. Okay, for now I'll put position 0. Now that's how you do it. If we go bottom, let's say if you give bottom 80 pixel, it does not work because there is nothing in the bottom that can be, positioned according to. Now if I cut this, right, if I give no bottom, but I do give left. So if I give 50 pixels, if I give 50 pixel left, it will appear left. So yeah, you understood that if you give position relative, it will position itself relative from its original position, right? That is position relative, right? I can also give it position, let's say if I give it cut the left and give it 50 pixels right, it will position itself 50 pixels right from the original position. So that is position relative. Okay, so here I'm going to give a position of relative, but I'm not going to give it in box 1. Okay, I'm going to give it in our container. Position relative, or any position property, but I have only told you position relative, so I'm giving position relative. I will teach you other position elements just in a bit. So here what I'm going to do is give a position of absolute. This is the third CSS property, or position CSS property, that is position absolute. If we do that, the box 1 basically just positions it absolute to the container div. Now what does that mean? So box 1 here is positioning itself according to the nearest positioned element parent. So here, if we go down here, we have 5 divs, right? as you can see, container is the parent div of all these 5 boxes. Now, when you do position absolute, it will position itself from the nearest positioned HTML element. In this case, we gave position relative, which is again a position property, to our container, which is the parent div of all 5 of these boxes. So here what is basically happening is box 1 is positioning itself absolute from the container. So here box 2 disappeared because box 2 is under box 1. So here, to make box 2 appear, I can give a z-index of -1. So box 2 will appear, and now box 1 is under box 2. You can only use z-index property to a HTML element if the HTML element is positioned. So if I give a position, let's say position, and let's say I give a position here. Now here, position of the z-index. So here, z-index of box 1 is -2. If I give anything higher than -1, here, let's say 0, I forgot to make it, oh, sorry, I thought it was z-index. Okay, if I give a position of relative here, and here, what I'm going to do is give a z-index of, let's say, here, it was -1, so I'll give it 0. 0 is still higher than -1. It is still appearing. Okay, so it was already on the top. So if I give, let's say, -2, box 1 will appear on the top. That's the use case of z-index. But I'm not trying to teach you that, okay? So if I give a position absolute, right, I'm going to make I'm going to make sure that box 2 appears. So if I just cut the z-index, it should appear just like that. And just cut that. Okay, the box 1 is appearing on the top. So here, now it will, if I give the top, let's say the top is 20 pixels. As you can see, it is positioning itself and stacking on top of box 2. I give more. As you can see, it is absolute to what? Not box 2, but the container itself, right? Container itself. I can also give a left of, okay, left of let's say 30 pixels, and it will position itself left from the container. Okay, if I give it 0 pixels, it will basically be on the edge of the container. But what if I give again top, now it is on the top, right? It isn't by default. But what if the container div didn't have the position relative, or it was not positioned in any way, sort of form? It will basically position itself with the body tag. So here it is basically positioning itself with the body, right? This is how it works. Okay, if it does not find any positioned element in its parent div or parent HTML element, it will basically position itself with the body tag. Okay, so you have to understand that. Now I'll save that again, and it is positioning itself according to a container. That is position static, position relative, and position absolute. Now we have 2 more position CSS property that we have to learn. Now next, I'm going to change that so that box 2 can appear. So another thing is I made the boxes really big for a specific reason, right? So here what I'm going to do is with the box 1, I'm going to give a position of fixed, right? So that is the 4th property that we'll learn, that is fixed. So here what's happening is if I do position fixed, it will basically fix itself on the top, right? I also can do with 90% to not 900, 90%, so that it is on the top. Now, if we do that, this box 1 right here is basically fixed. So it will not move anywhere, even if you scroll the page. So if I'm scrolling the page, it is not moving, as you can see. The box 1 stays right where it wants to. We can also change its position by, again, top. We can also give negative values. Let's say top -1, right? sorry, -2 pixels, it'll basically stay right there. It'll basically move upwards, right? I also can give a bottom. Let's say bottom. Let's say I want the box 1 to stay bottom. Let's say I give -2 pixels here. It'll basically move to bottom, as you can see. Or let's say bottom 8 pixels. I want the box to be 8 pixels up from the bottom. I can give it like this. If I want it to be centered, I can probably change around. Let's say 500 pixels, 50 pixels. I can just change around. So I'm just gonna like say, there we go. It's almost as is in the center. So as you can see, it does not move from its place. That is the sticky property. I can also give it as the index. You can assume it as a pop-up, right? This is the box 1. You can assume it as a pop-up. So it always has to be above everything else. But to show you guys, I'm just going to give a z index of -2. It will disappear because now you can see a small edge. It is under all of these boxes. I'm going to change it like that. So position it like that. There you go. That is box 1, right? Or that is the position fixed element. Now let's change it anything and just give it like that, and also change the width to 100% because when you do fixed, it will position itself all the way to the body, right? So if you do 100%, then it will take perfectly on the edge of the container. So last position property is the position sticky, not static, sticky. There you go. If you scroll down, nothing happens, right? Like position fixed, it would just fix itself. But here I have to give the position, the box 1 position where it should be. So if I give top 0, now if we scroll the page, the box will stay at the top, as you can see right here. That is position sticky, right? Now if to give it a better example, I can take this CSS property and put it in, let's say, box 2, saying position, and let's say sticky again, obviously. So here what I'm essentially doing is I'm going to probably increase the box size. So let's say 2000 pixels. I think it's getting overcrowded. Yep, it's getting overcrowded. And now it's fixed. So here what I'm essentially doing is, here we have probably give it a little more. Let's say 2500. Yep, I think it's a lot better. So here what I'm going to do is give the box to position sticky, which I'll already given. And let's say I want it to position itself when we scroll down to box 2. I want it to position itself from the top 0. Right? So here, what I'm going to do is scroll down. It will scroll normally. However, when it reaches box 2, it will stay fixed at the top of the box 2 because we have given top 0, right? I can give it, let's say, top 50 pixels. And if we now scroll down, when we reach the top 50 pixels from the box, it will stay fixed on that position. If we again scroll down, it will come to normal. So that is position sticky. Okay, we can again give it as the index, but you already know what's the deal. The index will basically help in stacking between the boxes of the HTML elements or HTML elements. So that's it for video, guys. If you enjoyed the video and absolutely learned the core concepts of position CSS property, then drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you have any questions regarding today's lesson, please leave them down in the comments below. And I know today's lesson was a little bit too longer than the normal sessions, but this was a very important CSS property that we needed to learn to make good websites. So with that said, I'll see you guys in another video. Bye bye.